There's a belief I hold now that I've kind of learned over the last 5 years of building multiple startups, especially here in Asia, that recruiting is your number one job. We have to essentially, as founders, assemble the best possible team we can, because a company is just a group of people. And it's probably the most important skill we can build. And I have unfortunately learned that through pain and suffering and scars from hiring people who didn't fit the culture, hiring people that fit the culture but didn't have the right skills. And today I'm going to tell you about how we solved it, the process we built, and how we do recruitment and how we're obsessed with it in my companies. So stay tuned. Yeah, so your first sort of 10 to 20 hires are really the full culture, right? They are going to set the tone for your company. And so it's so important that we have to spend a lot of time hunting for the right kinds of people, but not rushing the hire. I think some of the things I did early on actually is I didn't really think about this enough, and I ended up outsourcing. I got a recruitment company to source me candidates, etc. I just did blast interviews. I was hiring fast, just trying to get people in the door. And I didn't really think about that kind of culture aspect. When we're the founder, we actually really need to focus on being the vision bearer of the business, right? So you need to build your personal brand that can attract really great people who believe in your vision. And honestly, if you get this wrong, it's going to cause you a lot of headaches down the road. Let's break it down. So the people you hire, they're either A players, B players, or C players. And in your company, there should only be room for A players, right? Now, what is an A player? An A player is someone who is obsessed with results, right? They are highly coachable. They're intelligent. They don't make excuses. So don't make excuses, right? They believe in themselves. Right? Very critical. They believe in themselves. And of course, they believe in your product and what you're building and your vision. These are A players, right? And those guys, you need 10 of them at the beginning. So if they're not obsessed with getting results, if they're not coachable, they're not intelligent, they're always making excuses, they don't really believe in themselves, they second guess themselves too much, and they don't really care or believe in the product, they're not your A players, and they do not belong in your business. Now, C players, there's nothing inherently wrong with these guys, but they're here for a job, right? And there's, again, nothing inherently wrong with these people, but they are not going to be a fit for you and the vision you're building. And if that's the case, they will become a poison in your culture, because they will complain, they will not have the same behaviors you're looking for, and that will actually rub off on other people. So you've got to watch out for these C players. C players are a big problem, right? And how do we see? Well, they're not obsessed, right? They're not necessarily intelligent. They're not necessarily coachable. They make excuses all the time. They're late for work, and you just don't feel that passion and excitement from them. Don't want them in the beginning, because they will be a poison in your culture. So we remove C players as soon as we can. So showing my recruitment process, we have a request come in, then management and finance need to approve. After that, our hiring manager's writing job descriptions. We then assign a hiring committee. So not just the hiring manager and the recruiters interviewing, but we're getting everybody involved within the team. That committee then meet to discuss how we're going to source candidates, because everybody's responsible for finding candidates in Nectar. Then the recruiter is obviously advertising. Maybe we're reaching out to our network, we're going to events, and the recruiter's got a couple of weeks to shortlist 20 CVs per role. And in those roles, CVs then need to be looked at by the hiring manager for approval before interviews. The recruiter is then going to interview all of the candidates that have been shortlisted, and they need to give us 5 to 7 that pass. So the hiring manager only meets top candidates, and they need to pass 3. And those 3 then go through the hiring committee. So if you're coming in to be a designer, you're going to meet 2 designers in our team, a content creator, You're going to meet across departments, someone from the sales department, because we want our team to really love and want to work with these people and get them excited as well. But also they might think, you know what, this person's not going to fit well in our team. It's not going to work for us. They probably don't fit our culture. And I want to make sure that that's a part of the process. Now, at the end of every interview, every single member of the committee has to fill out a form, and no one can talk about their other interviews. You can't share information. If anyone shares information, the candidate is automatically rejected, because we want a complete unbiased recruitment process. And at the end of all the interviews, the recruiter is going to share a presentation of who the top candidates were, and then a decision will be made within that committee and the hiring manager. And if the decision is then made, it comes to the C-suite. There needs to be at least 2 candidates that come to the C-suite, and C-suite will do a final interview. So either myself or my co-founder Shuk will interview everybody once, and at that point, then we offer. So we hire really slow, because you can't get this wrong. If you get this wrong, think about the time it takes to recruit. That could be 6 months. Think about the time it takes to realize you've mishired and to have to perhaps let that person go. That could be 3 to 6 months. Think about all the other people working with that person in their onboarding where you've mishired. That's a huge, huge time cost and financial cost. So you've got to get it right at the beginning. So you have to have this much more slower, in-depth recruitment process. So guys, that's how we do recruitment here. It's so important that you get this right, because mishiring is a huge cost. So next week, I'm going to be talking about building an amazing sales team from scratch, a team that can deliver results every week, every month, just like mine out there. So subscribe, and I'll see you next week.